I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Andover, Minnesota in the US, and today I'd like to share with you some outside-the-box ideas that I created using the contents of the January 2020 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up! Titled, I'll Be Yours. These monthly kits come straight to my mailbox and contain everything I need to make fun, creative paper crafting cards and projects. This month's kit contains supplies to make love-themed bags and mini cards, 20 treat bags and 10 3x3 mini cards with envelopes. The box also contains this publication with directions, tips, photos, details about the kit, and a link to a how-to video to help guide me in assembling. Plus, there are 2 items that I can use over and over again, even after the consumables from my kit are used up. This mini ink pad and this beautiful exclusive stamp set. A clear block, which was included free with my first kit for mounting and using my stamps, and my scissors are the only extra supplies that I really need to provide. Paper Pumpkin kits are just $22 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. You control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. These kits are produced through Stampin' Up!, so the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these as I share my alternate projects. You can find these items that I use listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look below for links to learning more about Paper Pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with extra exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of these projects. If you're looking for ideas for past kits, visit my website at StampYourArtOut.com. Click on Paper Pumpkin in the top menu, then choose Recent or Older Posts. Since March of 2013, when Paper Pumpkin first began, I've been creating and sharing alternate projects so Paper Pumpkin subscribers can see that there's so many more possibilities, so many more options with those kit supplies. You can also explore alternate project ideas on Pinterest, with Google searches, on the Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook, and through other videos here on YouTube. And that's what I'll be doing in this video. I'm excited to create with you, so let's get started. 2 new publications just debuted on January 3rd with Stampin' Up! This is the spring catalog right here, and this is a celebration brochure. Both of these publications contain lots of fun new product. Our 12 by 12, I only have a swatch of each, but our 12 by 12 designer paper called Golden Honey, it's double-sided, is in the spring catalog. And I'm sorry, in the celebration brochure, and then these 2 punches here, it's the Heart Punch Pack, they can be found in the spring catalog. You can also find these products online in the online store. Now, if you're wanting to get your hands on these, you can go ahead and make a purchase. I have a link to my online store below. Now, next month, we received this flyer to give us a little heads up that next month's kit, the February kit, is going to coordinate really well with one of the celebration products called Happy Birthday to You. It's a stamp set that looks like this. And so if you are not a subscriber yet, or your subscription is on hold or whatever, you'll want to make sure that it's active for next month so that you can get your hands on a kit that coordinates with even more products. It's always fun to coordinate with product because you can make even more alternate projects if that's your wish. So again, look for links in my video description below. Now I also want to give you the heads up that in my videos I always substitute my little mini ink pad for the larger one. It's just quicker for me. I substitute the clear block that came in my first kit for my collection of blocks that are more ergonomic. They're just easier to hold. And then I also bring in some snail adhesive. I love using this. This is quick and easy to use. I use it in addition to the adhesives that come in the kit. And sometimes I bring in even more adhesives, but these 3 things here are staple products that you're going to see me using throughout, and I won't be showing you these, just again, because these are so much easier. 2 staple products that I always say have on hand, black cardstock and white cardstock. We're going to be using those in our first alternate project. We're going to make a card. So I'm inserting my black cardstock into my trimmer and bringing it to the 5.5 inch mark because this is 11 by 8.5 inch cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and cut in half at the 5.5 inch mark, and then I'm going to rotate it this way. Half of 8.5 is 4 1/4. So I'm going to put a score line in here, and that will give me the perfect card base for my first card. Now I want an inside that I can write on, so I'm going to go ahead and add another layer So this one I'll cut down just a little bit skinnier. So instead of 4 1/4 inches, I'm going to go to 4 inches. And instead of 5 1/2, I'm going to go to 5 1/4. And that will give me 1/8 of an inch all the way around on the inside of my card for writing an inside sentiment, greeting, whatever. All right. Then on the front of the card, I'm going to take one of the little envelope, well, the little bags, I should say, from the kit. And I'm going to cut carefully along each of these 2 edges. So I'm just going to put it in my cutter so that the flat edge is against either the top, or if you're one of those people that likes to pull when you cut, along the bottom. There's these little ridges here on our trimmer. I like to push up when I cut. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here. And you want to make sure that you have a sharp blade too. I'm going to flip it over now and I'm going to cut here. And I'm just cutting off, seriously, just a small little edge there, just so that when those pieces are removed, I can now open up my envelope, my bag. This is called a bag, I guess. It looks like an envelope. And I'm going to go ahead and straighten this out. And you can see this really fun little design in here. I thought that would be fun to add on the inside of my card. So we're going to go ahead and cut this down now. We're going to trim it. We're going to trim it to 5 1/2 inches wide. So we're going to trim it right at this score line here. Now you can already tell, and this is why I paused the camera for just a minute here. When I open this up, I noticed that you can see the envelope line. You can see it even better against the black. I keep calling it an envelope. The bag lining, these little pieces in here, you can see that through that paper because it's very thin. So what we're going to do is we're going to back that with one more piece of Whisper White, and that should do the trick. But let's turn this around and let's trim this at 5 1/2 inches. So now it covers the whole width of the card. And we have our little grouping of flowers here off to the left-hand side. So let's take another piece of Whisper White cardstock, our scrap here, and I believe this was a little over 3 inches. So we're going to make that 3 1/8 inches wide, or tall, by 5 1/2 inches wide. And this piece will just go underneath to help support and cover up that white that was there. You could go ahead and just put it straight down and maybe put just kind of some ribbons on the top or bottom. That would cover that up as well. But this being thin paper, we just need to kind of conceal that. So we've got that piece ready to go. Now let's go ahead and set aside our trimmer, and we're going to zoom in. We're going to color on our bees, because our bees need to be a little bit darker. I don't want them to just be yellow. I would love for them to have a little bit of black in them. So we're going to take our Stampin' Write marker. You can use any marker. You could use a black pen. It doesn't matter. It's just a very small space. And we're going to go ahead and take the writing tip off here. And we're just going to color right in those spaces between the yellow. That's a crushed curry yellow, by the way. And when you color there, you're also going to include the head, because the head we want to also have be black. We'll leave the wings the way they are, but I'm liking the idea of the body being a little bit more defined here. And then we'll color in between the body here, and we'll just keep doing that on each bee. We'll also emphasize the antenna, so you'll want to color right over the top of those antennae. One more thing that I want to do to these tiny little bees is I want to add a little bit of sparkle to their wings. So I'm using a product called Wink of Stella. It is a great product to have. It's just like a little paintbrush that puts a little bit of shimmer onto the top of your designs. You can add it on top of inked areas. You can add it, on top of like designer paper and that sort of thing. So it's really a great product. Now that we have these wings colored, we're going to set our bees aside, and we're going to pull in our cardstock and start assembling. So I've got my black base. I'm going to add my Whisper White cardstock on the inside. Actually, I'm going to stamp this first. It's always good to stamp first, because just in case you have, a mistake, you can flip it over, because there's always two sides to a paper. So we're going to add the bee mine on the inside. We're going to add the little tiny bee, the stamped bee. So let's grab our stamps. We've got the bee mine, and we've got the bee. That's how I mount my stamps. I just put the stamps upside down on the table, and then I pick them up with the blocks. Let's start with the bee. We're just pouncing up and down onto our black ink pad, and then we're going to stamp it in the middle. I love that you can see through these stamps. You can stamp somewhat evenly. And then the Be Mine, we'll just stamp that right above. Okay, there's the inside portion to our card. Now we're going to go ahead and assemble. So let's go ahead and put our snail adhesive, which is quicker than using the glue dots in the kit, but you can totally use the glue dots in the kit. That's what they're there for, so you don't have to own it all. That goes on the inside. This piece is going to get attached to that white layer underneath. And then we'll add this to the front of the card. Now I've got 17 inches of crushed curry seam binding ribbon. And we're going to just tie a bow. So we'll do right over left. This ribbon's coming from the right, this one's coming from the left, right over left, and I'm angling them upward. And then I'm going to take my right one and I'm going to fold it so that it's coming over the top and through. Now it's coming downward and it's folded in half. I'm just getting my hand on it. This is very staticky ribbon. It's winter here, so we have dry air. Okay, now I've got a hold of it. Now this one's going to fold the opposite way and come upward, and we're going to cinch it. Then I'm going to use my ring finger to hold it down here. You could use a friend. Just hold it down, and you're going to make a loop with the bottom one, like that. So it's just kind of folded in half. This one's going to come around to the left and go off to the right, and then you're going to push this end of the ribbon through that hole. So there's a little hole that's created there, and you're going to push it through, and as you pull, you've got your bow. And I'm just going to even it out by holding on to the loop, and I'm going to pull this little leg of the ribbon here, and then on this side I'm going to do the same thing. I'm holding the loop and pulling the leg at the same time. And then, because I did not tape anything down, I can take and curve my card base, grab my ribbon, and I can move my ribbon, my bow, to where I'd like it to be on my card. And it almost looks like a Christmas tree topper there, doesn't it? Okay, there. Now we've got it a little bit flatter. The nice thing about crushed curry ribbon is it's super, the seam binding ribbon, is that it's super thin. So when you mail it, you don't have to have that extra ounce stamp. Okay, so we're making just kind of a different sort of looking Valentine here. You could turn this into a birthday card. You could turn it into, I don't know, thinking of you, thank you. But I'm going to go ahead and use the sentiments that come in the stamp set. We have wishing you a lifetime of love, great for a wedding card or something. We have for you, we have thank you. Those are perfect, except on this card they might be a little bit too small. Let's be friends, handmade, be mine, and then with love and happy Valentine's Day. So let's grab our circle. This is going to be where we put our sentiment. And then we're going to take our bees, now that the wings are dry, and we're just going to kind of stick them here and there on these areas of the card. And I'm pretty much creating on the spot as I make these videos. So I changed my mind, and instead of having the Valentine's saying, I'm going to go ahead and put for you. It still can be used for Valentine's, but this way it can also be used for like a proposal card. I don't know, it's just a super cute Be Mine kind of card. We're putting dimensionals on the back of the bees. Just need one on the back of each one. And we remove the release paper and just stick it down. I decided to add this guy here instead. So that's going to go up on dimensionals. Because it's a pretty large circle, I'm going to put 3 on the back of this circle to just kind of create that 3-legged support there. And we'll just slip that right here. So now it does not look like a Christmas tree anymore. It just looks like a mound of flowers with little bees flying around it. I like that look a lot better. And then on the inside, of course, Be Mine. So you wouldn't have to use it for Valentine's. I like this card. And I love how the wings are all sparkly. Don't know if you can see that in there, but let's do the next project. I love getting these unique pouches in the kits. I've been poking and prodding at this one. You can see a lot of bend marks in it. I'm thinking I'm going to show you the next two projects are going to be the ones that I've got in my mind for this one. So if you fold it this way, you make a little container that's in the shape kind of as a sour cream ornament. So we're just going to do that really quickly by slicing off the end here, and we're going to slice it actually right along this little ridge here where you can see it kind of comes up on the corners, and we want to remove those. So we're going to slice it. It's about 3 3/4 of an inch in. It is exactly 3 3/4 of an inch in. And then what you'll do is you'll fill it with some treats. So let's go find some treats. And these are pretty lightweight treats. This is not the stiffest kind of material here, so I didn't want to put something too heavy in there. The advantage to that, though, is that when you seal it up, you could probably use the glue dots that came in your kit. It might be kind of hard to get your snail in there, but I am going to use my strong adhesive called Tear and Tape. I'm also going to bring in my regular ink pad, Mint Macaron. This is the color that comes in the kit, along with the Tuxedo Black. So let's first stamp one of the tag pieces in our kit. We're going to stamp with the mint color and those 3 little flowers. Gotta love those. They're so cute. We're going to stamp that right about there. And then we're going to stamp our handmade, the word handmade, and we're going to stamp that with our black. This is the Tuxedo Black Memento, a great staple item. And then we'll take our black marker and we'll sign our name at the bottom. And then we can give it to a friend, a family member, a coworker. All right, so let's go ahead and add our Tear and Tape adhesive to the inside. You want to have a piece that's close to the same width going across, but then when you put it in here, it's going to close this way instead. So you actually want to run it along half of one side and half of the other. So we're going to get in here. I've got my reading glasses on so I can see where I'm going. And if it helps, you could cut the piece into 2 pieces, the tape into 2 pieces, so that it's easier to get in there. You can always manipulate it too. And if it goes over the edge slightly, I'll show you here. I'll just do it on purpose. So you can see my tape is going over the edge. It's kind of seeping up there. That's okay, because this tape is so thin that you can actually adjust it. Oops, let's add our candy first. And then we'll remove the release paper from the back side, like that. Make sure it's all tucked in there. Oh yeah, I forgot to tuck it. Okay, so you want to bring that tape in like that, and it's super easy to do. And just flatten it out. And then you can kind of press the container back in place like that. Again, it's super thin. It's not like super stiff paper. It's more like, it's not as thin as like typing paper or copy paper or whatever, but definitely not as strong as cardstock. Okay, now that we have our little sour cream pouch ready to go, we can add our tag. I'm just going to pop out the middle here just because I'm going to put adhesive on here, and I don't, in fact I'm going to do it on this side I think. And I don't want that adhesive to go just on the inside piece and then the whole thing falls off. So here we'll grab our twine and let's double it over. Let's take a couple strands, and these strands are about 7 inches each, and then we're just going to tie a bow. We'll trim the ends. And then we can use the dots that came in the kit. Now in this kit, Stampin' Up! Had some manufacturing issues with the original adhesive dots, so then they supplemented and added another sheet in there. You'll want to use the sheet that was added separately from the bag, if that makes sense. And so now we'll just put the adhesive on the back side of our bow. And in fact, let's just stick a little Tear and Tape back here. That'll make it easier to make sure it's stuck on there, like that. And that'll go here. And then peel the backing off. I don't have my Take Your Pick tool in front of me. That is a great tool to use with these dots. There we go. All right, so now that that's off, we're just going to stick that right in the circle there, like that. And for a little extra pizzazz, I'm going to add one of my other staple items. These are rhinestones. The rhinestones are so awesome because you can just add a couple and you've got like the most magnificent card or project ever just from that added little shine. And there is our finished little treat bag. So sweet. So now I'll make the second treat container that I had in mind. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of those same little pouches and I'm going to bring it into my trimmer at 3/8 of an inch. That's just before the 1/2 inch mark. And we're going to score it, flip it over, and do the same thing to this side. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that mark. So it's this mark right here. It's just before the centimeter mark. That's what, there you go. It's the inch side though. And we're going to score that. And then we're going to rotate it to the bottom and do the same down here. So 3/8 of an inch on all three sides. And then we're going to take our bone folder and we're going to just emphasize those creases in both directions. This is an oldie but a goodie. I always see this when I see little pouch containers like this or fun envelopes. I want to make one of these. It's called a Bag-elope. So, yeah, and sometimes you have creases in the pouch or the envelope that get in the way. You just kind of have to manipulate them. So that's probably good enough. Now we're going to put our hand on the inside and we're going to turn those little folds inside out. So we're going to go this way, and we're making kind of a paper bag fold. If you want to look at it that way, it looks like a paper bag that you'd get at a grocery store with a fancy little design on it. Okay, now we're going to put our treat inside, and the treat that I have, where did I put it, is a gift that, oh, I put a stamp on it. Is a gift that I would give to somebody. It's a clear block. So I'm going to throw that in there and that'll just kind of help hold the bag as I work with it. You can also re-flatten it back out and decorate it before you put it together, but the problem with that is that you want to make sure that you're staying within the score lines. In fact, let's just do it that way. I did it the other way when I put it together. And then you'll also see this, because it's a very thin paper, you're going to see some tearing there. So what I did is I just took my little snips and I trimmed off those two corners right there. You don't need those. Okay, so let's grab our pink heart. This is the Rococo Rose heart, the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and our stamp that looks like a giant heart that says "with love" on it. And we're going to stamp that within the borders of this heart. There we go. And then we'll stamp our Happy Valentine's Day inside that. And we're going to add, of our little iridescent flowers here, we have a purple sheet and a pink sheet. So we're just going to add a pink one up here for just a fun little embellishment. Now we're going to grab our basic black cardstock and we're going to punch with the scallop heart punch a larger heart that will go right underneath. So let's take our snail adhesive or the glue dots in the kit, whatever you prefer, and we're just going to add a little adhesive back there so we can layer these up together. On the back side, we're going to add dimensionals, and then we're going to add this to the front. Now think of the flap coming down, because the flap is going to be there. It's going to be in that same spot. So when you add this, you want to make sure that it's centered and it's below that flap. Okay, so now we're going to pierce through these holes. That'll help to bring our ribbon in, and I'm just using the Take Your Pick tool, which I should have used earlier, because this is great for removing those adhesive dots off your adhesive sheet. Let's just bring that back in real quick. So you can take and grab them like this. So it's an awesome tool. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and put this together with our clear block inside. Okay, so now we need to put a little adhesive on these two little tabs here. And we're going to do that with tear and tape. You could use glue dots, but I think the glue dots that come in the paper pumpkin kits aren't quite as strong as the glue dots that come in the online store. So I would recommend just a square of tear and tape. And if it's a little bigger, in fact I'm going to make it a little bigger on purpose, it's totally fine because you can take and again bring it over the top, right? So let's just add those to these spots here. And we'll just grab our bone folder and really crease that. Make sure it's nice and strong. Grab our take your pick tool. Remove the backing. See, that's another thing. This tool is awesome for working with this tape too. Don't have to worry about my fingernails so much. Okay, now we can grab that and just kind of bring that over the top. I was looking at some past videos reminiscing about my fingernail polish. I miss painting my nails, I tell you. All right, so this is where if you don't have a gift inside, if you grab the bone folder, you can just kind of press against that little area there. I miss having pretty nails, but they are so much healthier, I have to tell you. I have never had such strong nails. Okay, let's put our gift back inside. Enough of that, Rachel. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put this over the top, and we'll just make sure that those holes are still in there. Okay, now we're going to grab some ribbon, and this ribbon is new in the spring catalog. This is our mint macaron, which matches one of the colors in the kit, this color here. Mint macaron, and it's called sheer linen ribbon. So we're going to guide it from the front to the back, just by flattening this area out, pressing, and then just kind of using that little poker part to guide it into that hole. And you can grab it from the back side. Same thing this way. And this hole isn't as large because it's made with the piercer only, but we know where it's at, and we're just going to kind of poke it and manipulate it through there. And it's okay if the end gets a little beat up. That's totally fine because you can trim that. And we need about, I would say, 10 inches. Let's trim that with our scissors that's assigned for ribbon. I like to have my ribbon, or my scissors, two different scissors. I like to have one that I use just for ribbon and one that I use for anything else. The ribbon scissors stays sharp because you want to make sure that you are having a sharp scissors when it comes to fabric. So we'll just tie this into a bow. And if you leave these little ends long, then the person who receives the gift can retie it if they want to. We just need a couple more flowers on there. So let's add one maybe around here, and another one maybe, let's just do it right in here. Okay, so now we have a really cute Valentine treat to give to a friend that likes to craft. You can put another treat in there, of course. Here is the purple version of that treat bag. And then I have one more idea that I thought of with these pouch little containers. Okay, so let's grab another one of them, and we're gonna slice it here. So we're removing that top edge again. That means that we have to bring it into our trimmer at 3 3/8 inches. Slide our trimming blade across there, and we're going to also slice just a little bit off the end here to open it up. So now we have kind of like a sleeve. All right, we're going to decorate that first. The next step is to fit the sleeve over your candy bar, whatever kind of candy bar you're going to have. And I've chosen the Hershey's candy bars just because I have them all over the house. And The color here is pretty darn close to a color that we have called Early Espresso. So I thought I would use the Early Espresso ink pad along with this Hershey bar. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of a crease here so I know where it's going to be attached higher up. And then below here, kind of centered, is where I want to stamp. I'm bringing in a different stamp set because the stamp set that you get in the kit has a lot of tiny little sayings in it, and I wanted a little bit larger sentiment. This stamp set, called Honeybee, coordinates with this kit pretty darn well because, of course, it has bee-type things in it, right? It's got a hive and everything. So you can find this in the spring catalog, so it just debuted on January 3rd. We're going to be using the sentiment that says, thinking of you, sweet friend, and we're just going to pull that out of there like this. This is another kind of stamp that we carry. It's called Cling Mount. And to use these cling mount stamps, you do actually get a tiny little sheet in here that has some stickers on them. And these get peeled off and used on the stamp like this. So you just take and you expose one half. It's got kind of a split in the middle. And then you can just take and lay down the side that you're not adhering yet. Just lay that down like that. Make sure everything's lined up. Stick it down to grab that label. And then you peel up like this. And you've got half of it stuck on there and the other half ready to go. Now when you bring this over here to peel this other side up, be really careful not to stick it onto itself because it's very clingy. So you're just going to peel off the backing on this side, slowly bringing it down, grab your block, flatten it out, and now you have your cling mount stamp. These cling mount stamps are very, very clingy, so when you peel them back off your block, you want to be careful to grab your fingernail underneath there, or you could do the take your pick tool, but just be very careful not to peel the stamp away from the label again, because it will separate from it pretty severely, and then you'll have a mess. So keep the label on there, just really peel it up like that. You can also put like a little bit of tape under there. Some people put a tiny little smidge of Scotch tape on the end of one side, and that way they always have a corner to peel up. We're gonna grab our Early Espresso ink, and you can see either by the line on the bottom that this is a straight edge along here, or because the label is now pretty visible. It's not see-through, it's opaque, but you can at least see sort of where you're going with these kind of stamps as well. And we're going to stamp that down. Thinking of you, sweet friend is perfect for a candy bar. Now we're going to grab our heart punch pack, and I've got the scallop punch. I've already punched out 2 green or mint macaron hearts from that. And then we're going to bring in the other one, the matching one, because instead of using up 2 hearts for each bar, we're going to take this heart and put it back in our kit, and we're going to grab some Rococo Rose cardstock. You can see it's pretty darn close. So we're just going to open up our punched out of the corner, and now we've got a punched out heart that is pretty similar to the other punched out hearts that come in the kit, but we're not using all the kit ones up. Now we're going to take this and slide it onto our candy bar, centered, and we're going to grab a stapler. It doesn't matter what stapler, as long as you can reach in there and give it a good staple, and that'll help to hold it. You can still slide it off. It's not completely firm on there, but it's firm enough. Now this piece is going to go underneath, so we're going to put a little bit of adhesive on there. And that's a good thing too, that your candy bar slider can come off, because you want people to be able to enjoy it. Plus we have to get our hearts under here, because we're going to cover up some of that Hershey's stuff there. We don't want to see all of it. This one is going to be popped up on dimensionals. So we will take and turn it over, put 3 dimensionals on the back side. Oh, hang on. I wasn't going to do that. I was actually going to tape this to it first. So we're going to do this. And then we're going to slide that under. just to kind of give it a different look, because we've got all of this stuff in here. We don't want to cover that up. So there we go. But we do want to cover up that staple, so we're going to bring back that mint macaron ribbon. You could, of course, use the twine in the kit. You could use any other ribbon that you have that coordinates. And we're just going to do 2 rabbit ears. Show you another bow here. This is tiny ribbon though. Okay, 2 rabbit ears. Put one over the other. Bring that loop, that top loop, through. Just fold it down and bring it through. And what's going to happen is this little guy here is going to go that way, and you've got another little bow ready to go. And just manipulate the loops by holding on to the tail, tightening in either direction. And then to fancy it up, I just added a few of the little fun flowers that come in the kit and some of the rhinestones in the middle. So what a nice little candy bar treat to give to somebody, and it slides off. They can keep it. They can put it on another candy bar and give it to somebody else. All right, next project. A couple more ideas in this video. I have lots more in my head, but I can't possibly share them all today. So you'll have to visit my blog at stampyourartout.com to get even more inspiration. So for this next one, we're going to use these heart foil tins. You can actually bake in them. I did that myself, and the lid snaps on. What's wonderful about this product is that inside that same suite you can also find doilies that fit right inside there, and they come in the red and pink color. And then if you flip it over, you also have a white option. We're going to use the golden honey designer paper that I talked about earlier, some black cardstock, that heart punch pack, and more. Let's start with this piece here. We're going to try to punch this out so we get kind of a symmetrical design. So now we've got our 2 layers ready. We're going to add that, I believe we were going to add that to this, the red. I like it on the red. All right, next we're going to take our bee stamp. No, we're not going to do that yet. I'm going to show you that next. We're going to take our little bee guy here. Okay, we've got a little bee, and we've got this piece here, and we're going to stamp our Be Mine with the Tuxedo Black Memento ink inside there. And we're going to layer these onto the cover of our container. So I recommend using a strong adhesive. You could use a glue dot or whatever. So I'm going to grab our tear and tape. We don't want our little decoration coming off. And we'll just put a little strip across there. And it'll hold better inside the lid of our treat container. Okay. Next, we're going to adhere this to this. So as you can see, I did some baking yesterday. I put cupcake mix inside these tins. It really does work. We're going to put that lid on there. And by the way, if you do have anything in here that's going to affect a decoration on the inside, don't put anything on the inside of your lid. So that's food safe that way, right? Now we have our fun little Valentine treat to give to somebody, our little bee mine. We're going to do another one. This time we're going to take the bee and we're going to flip it upside down. The shape of this bee is pretty darn close to the bee stamp that comes in the kit. So I want a blacker bee. I just want the black instead of the yellow. So we're going to stamp that directly on top of the back side, and you can see how well it lines up. So now we have a black bee, and I've already punched out the black scallop heart and some designer paper from that honey paper. We're going to use the white side of this, and let's grab our cover. We'll go ahead, oh, you know what? When we do this, we're going to make sure that we add just a little bit of tear and tape. And I'm going to trim it. And we're going to add it in the middle of the back side here. Okay. Now when we add it to our cover, we've got a place for a little message to go on the inside. So as I was saying, if you have food on the inside, you probably don't want to decorate the inside. But we could have like wrapped candies in here, something that's not going to affect this. But I wanted kind of a little surprise message on the inside of this one. So we are going to stamp that. And we're going to stamp it with the, we're going to actually stamp the back side of it with the message that says, "Let's be friends." So clever. So that can get flipped over and taped. Oh, actually I probably should have put tear and tape. Let's do that. Because remember, when you tape something to the plastic lid, it's not, the snail is not as strong. Okay, so there, we'll use this tape. And we'll add that right here. So that's what they'll see when they open up their candy. Let's put this onto here. And then we're going to take our crushed curry seam binding ribbon and we're going to grab enough of it. I'll tell you how much I have in just a second here. So I have about a foot. We're just going to take and wrap that around like this. And the scallops will help to hold it too, but you're going to take and grab the two ends together and you're going to tie an overhand knot like so. So you're just treating it all as one string, one ribbon, one piece, and doing an overhand knot and cinching it as close to that heart as possible. There we go. And then you can trim the ends. Just a different way to add ribbon. It's kind of fun. I'm kind of pulling them in two different directions so you can see the ends better. Oops. Okay, next we're going to add this up on dimensionals onto the back side. Again, shadow. And I'm going to put my dimensionals on top of the ribbon a little bit to help hold it. And we'll place that right here. Adjust our ribbon. Grab our B. And our B will help to hold that ribbon in place too. It's slanted sides, right? So it's not holding perfectly, but if we put one on each wing, then we can kind of make it go across our ribbon like, oops, let's make it go over here. That's super cute. So it's got a little bee on it, and then when we put our candies inside, we can lift it up and see the fun little message on the other side. Let's be friends. Super cute. So that's just a couple more treat ideas for you. We're going to end by making a card, one more card, a full size. I'm finally going to pull out these little note cards from the kit. And I think that mint goes really well with that chocolate color again, the early espresso. So we're going to cut our 8.5 by 11 cardstock in half at 4 1/4, and then we're going to score it at 5 1/2. This is opposite of what I did on the first card. Okay, we have our card base. We're also going to pair that up with early espresso ink. Let's grab our bone folder and just give that a good crease here. Okay, now this piece here, if we want it to be in here with a nice even border all the way around, this piece is 3 inches wide. We want it to be 4 1/4 inches wide. But I'm not going to trim it yet because we're going to use the guide from the stamp, the large stamp in our stamp set. It's like a background stamp. I love this stamp. I haven't even used it yet. So we're going to ink that up and we're going to stamp it along the border. Oh, I got to get paper underneath here. Hang on. Okay, I've got some mini grid paper here. So we're going to ink this up and we're going to stamp it so that our flowers are pretty darn close to the very tip top of where the two colors separate from each other. There we go. That's pretty darn close. So now let's move that off to the side. We're going to ink up our border stamp. We have this border stamp. We're actually going to do that on top here. So that's going to go above the floral area. And again, you want to connect as close as you can. There we go. Yay. Okay, so now this is going to dictate where we're going to trim this. We're going to bring our trimmer back in. And it looks like we are trimming off 5/8 of an inch. So we're going to trim that there. And that means that we want this piece, if we go this way, we're going to cut it to 4 1/4 inches here. That means the leftover piece looks like it's going to end up being, how much is that? This one is 1 1/8 inches. So now we have our fun little pieces left that we're going to use on the inside for the inside sentiment. But this is going to go on the outside, on the front, and we want to wind around some twine. But I think we need to stamp our sentiment first. Let's do that. I'm going to stamp that in the early espresso color. I like my sentiments in the upper right. So we're going to put that here. And then we'll add this to the front of our card. And I think I want to add it up on dimensionals because, again, that gives you a shadow. And another reason that we're going to add that up on dimensionals is because we're going to have this twine wrapped around and it's going to have a bit of a lift to it anyways. We're going to wrap that around twice. Let's trim off the excess. And we'll tie our bow. You really don't need a lot of dimensionals. In fact, if you only put dimensionals in the 4 corners, that will still give you the illusion that this is totally lifted up on dimensionals because the corners are lifted. If you don't put them in the middle, that leaves some space for a knot or any other embellishments. When you mail it, then these kind of have that lift and those have that lift, but there's nothing directly underneath this. So it allows you to kind of flatten the card a little bit more. On the inside of the card, we're going to take one of our hearts and we're going to put the tape on the colored side and flip it over. And then our 2 other pieces that we had left over on the top and the bottom of that mini note card, we cut off, we stamped, or we put them in here and then we stamped them together. And then I'm just going to put this heart here just to have one more little image on the inside. And this is where you can sign your names to give to, so that you can give this card like a wedding card to somebody, wishing you a lifetime of love. And before I finish this video, I'm just putting a few little extra accents on some pieces. So on this card I added some bling. And then on these 2 guys here, these little treat containers, I added some candy on the inside, some red little candy hearts. And then I also put some Wink of Stella on the bee's wings once again, and on the wings of this bee. Thank you, Wink of Stella, love that. I made 2 other little containers here of a treat container. This one is using just kit supplies only, except for the tin, the brownie inside, of course, and then you'll need the heart punch pack for that. So this is that little pouch. This is part of one of the note cards, of course, the twine and the ink. And then I did this one, and this one just has the tin, the brownie, and then the extra black ink, the Memento Tuxedo black ink. So yeah, so just a couple more ideas that I just couldn't resist making. Now that you've watched my video, I hope that you can see that there is so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so many more things with these super affordable kits. I hope that you gained some inspiration from what I've shared. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more paper pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so that you can view close-up photos of these projects, see photos of other paper pumpkin kit ideas in future and past posts, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. You'll find my direct website link in my description below. If you want to get spoiled with extra goodies, gifts, prizes, and extra exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas, remember to get your subscriptions started with me as your demonstrator, Rachel Tessman in Andover, Minnesota. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.